Mr. Mayor, two Illinois state legislators have introduced a bill calling for a speed up of the recall process. Can you tell us what you make of that, and if you think projects like this one speak to anything about your relationship with Springfield, with Washington, and the ability to carry forward?
Well, look, as far as, people introducing legislation, that's their job to do that. I remember when I first started working for State Senator Don Harmon, there was a piece of legislation to declare popcorn to be the state snack. It won, by the way, and it passed unanimously. Look, I know one of the individuals. He's a true champion, a West Sider, Representative LaShawn Ford. Grateful for his leadership in Springfield that allowed us to continue a conversation in the 104th General Assembly to have substantive conversations around how the city of Chicago can participate as a whole in all discussions. As far as my relationships, again, my first job, my political start was with State Senator Don Harmon. In fact, I met Robin Kelly when she was a state rep because I was the chief of staff to State Representative, former alderperson Deborah Graham. Senator Collins and I were on the front line along Michigan Avenue protesting against the Emanuel administration for covering up the video of the brutal killing of Laquan McDonald. Speaker Welch and I supported Speaker Welch when he was running for state rep, and the other speaker went with the other guy. So those relationships go further than my time as mayor. We've watched our children grow up together, and I'm looking forward to the continued work that we will do.
What's up, y'all? Gerald here, creator of Gospel Chops and your host for this YouTube channel, back with another video. Now, y'all, I was pleased to find out on yesterday that the former mayor of Oakland, California, here where I am in the Bay Area, y'all, the former mayor Sheng Tao has been indicted on federal charges after an FBI investigation, after a FBI raid upon her home. Why was I happy about it? Because she's one of those mayors that we see in many blue states and many blue cities in these metropolitan areas. One of these mayors who feel like they're entitled to exorbitant salaries while their cities devolve into chaos. Crime rates out of control, taxpayers getting nothing for their tax dollars. City services pull back, police services, ambulance services, fire services. Nah, you can't get the police to show up on time. You're out there on your own for yourself. And things have gotten so bad in these crime-ridden cities, these modern-day Gothams, that the businesses, the major tax bases of these cities have all but evaporated. So the people in Oakland, California rose up, had a referendum, got together, exercised their power of unity in the community, and booted out Sheng Tao. And what do you know? She about to go to jail. Well, we don't know that for sure, but she's most certainly indicted for some wrongdoing, allegedly. And it reminded me of this blackety-black mayor in Chicago who seems to be putting the great city of Chicago through the same rigmarole, y'all. We're looking at the situation where this conehead mayor, this incompetent mayor, is letting crime spiral out of control. Seems like he don't care. Diverting tax dollars of good citizens to immigrants, illegal immigrants, giving them services, giving them food and housing and debit cards. When the last time Chicago gave the hood a debit card for anything? Seems like y'all got a debit card on the life of your young people, and somebody keeps swiping and swiping. Every time I look up, there's murders right and left, unsolved murders. Somebody at the city hall is swiping the debit card of the hood and raising your property taxes to boot. Well, y'all, seems like the citizenry of Chicago may have had enough. And up there in Springfield, you got some state representatives who have felt the pressure. Y'all been out in the streets. Y'all been out at the city council meetings. Y'all have been talking it up on social media. We respect it. We love to see it. And here we are, looking at the results as it makes a difference. Y'all, the state legislature has introduced a bill to make it easier to recall incompetent and feckless mayors like Brandon Johnson, Mr. Conehead Blackety Black himself. Check this out.
There is a new move to recall Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. The first attempt, you may remember, came from a Chicago resident, an average citizen. But this next one comes from Springfield. NBC5's Chela Vachahusky got the mayor's reaction to this today.
As he joined a cavalcade of public officials welcoming a $1.9 billion federal investment in the CTA's Red Line extension, Mayor Brandon Johnson brushed off what have been increasing calls for him to be recalled.
As far as, people introducing legislation, that's their job to do that.
Late Thursday night, Representatives Anthony DeLuca and LaShawn Ford introduced HB 1084, calling for a clear and effective process to conduct recall elections in cities like Chicago.
People are asking for it. It's not something that I thought of myself. It's something that constituents asked for in 2015 after the Laquan McDonald's tape was released.
At the time, Ford's bill, which he has introduced every year since, was aimed at Mayor Rahm Emanuel. There is already a grassroots effort underway to collect the more than 56,000 signatures necessary to force a recall. The man behind that movement is Dan Bolin.
Every day that the mayor is in office is a master class in why a Chicago mayoral recall mechanism is needed.
The mayor's office is still reeling after questions were raised about his status as an on-leave member of the Chicago Teachers Union and his involvement in contract talks, as well as criticism from the governor's office about his relationship with Springfield.
The good thing about the work that we do in the city of Chicago, a perception of one individual doesn't define the entire city of Chicago. I will say this, though, the city of Chicago has gotten better, stronger, and safer.
In Pullman, Charlie Wojciechowski, NBC5 News.
Really right about the intentions of Governor Abbott. He is attacking democratically ran cities, and particularly cities that are being led by Black leaders or leaders of color. This is unconscionable. It's a very raggedy approach. And quite frankly, not only is it reckless and raggedy, but it is evil-spirited. Also not lost on me, I think there were 38,000 Republicans that showed up and voted for Donald Trump or something like that in Chicago. So, since if we're trying to draw some conclusions and you all want some other, analytics you might want to discover, that might be something to look into, because I'll just say it, there's a good chance that played a part in this referendum. So the same people who want to see Donald Trump to become president, sometimes I do feel like he wants my job, but who wants to be president again, those are the same voters who voted for him, and the same voters where you look at where there were more no's, they were concentrated there.
Now, I know it might be wishful thinking to believe that Chicago would vote in anything better than Mayor Johnson if, in fact, he was recalled. But we can all hope, can't we? We thought we had a little hope when Lori Lightfoot got her tail up out of there. But then y'all ushered in this man who is exponentially worse, in my opinion. But keep in mind, I am looking from afar. But I'm listening to the citizenry of Chicago who says that this man is worse. Well, I need y'all to do better. I need y'all to act better. I need y'all to be better. If you're going to vote this man out, if the legislature is going to help you do that, then good on all of y'all. But make sure you do better next time. Because just as we're seeing here in Northern California, in the Bay Area, things are going to get even tighter, even tougher for those citizens who just want better for their areas, better for their neighborhoods, better for their friends and family. But if you want better, you got to do better. You got to be better. Y'all understand that some of them Pookies and Ray Rays is your cousins and your brothers, your uncles, your nephews, your friends. The betterment of the community requires that we be better, or else you're going to find those businesses that you rely on, those grocery stores, moving out, those drugstores, moving out, just like Oakland. You're going to lose it all. You're going to lose your business base, and you're going to have to go on down there to Evanston just to fill your prescription, just to get a couple pieces of groceries. Yeah, it's going to be tight.
Some seniors like Constant Hatchett don't know what to do now that more Walgreens locations will be closing down.
It's a bad issue. It's bad. We need Walgreens. We need it because our medicine, we're seniors.
The second largest pharmacy store chain in the U.S. announced it's closing 5 stores by the end of February in neighborhoods on the city's south and west sides.
Walgreens they still trying to make their money, but they don't want to do it in the black and brown community.
In an emailed statement, a spokesperson for Walgreens says the most recent closures are a part of a previously announced business strategy calling for the shuttering of 1,200 locations over 3 3 years, adding in part, increased regulatory and reimbursement pressures are weighing on our ability to cover the costs associated with rent, staffing, and supply needs. It's never an easy decision to close a store.
Is disappearing.
While at an unrelated event advocating for affordable housing for seniors, community activist Reverend Robin Hood says the closures will be a devastating blow for those already struggling to get their medications.
And Walgreens is wrong for coming in this community all these years and then closing it up.
After seeing several drugstores close in recent years, Del Car drugstore owner Edwin Muldrow, whose father opened in 1960 what is now the only Black-owned drugstore left in Chicago, says when corporate pharmacy chains abandon communities, they leave behind pharmacy deserts.
So when you take the prescription services out of the community, where are the seniors going to go and purchase food, purchase basic healthcare items?
No suburban locations are included in this planned closure.
And there you have it, y'all. The people are waking up. The people are rising up in the city of Chicago. The only question is it too late? Have y'all waited too long? Have you been voting a certain way for too long? Have you been stuck on that Democrat plantation for too long to the point that you have summoned the current situation, the current state of the city of Chicago? Now you're stuck with this man for a little piece. Now you got to go above and beyond to get rid of the man that you invited in. How is it that the electorate can be so silly? Or at least so manipulated as to keep voting in bad politicians, keep voting against your interests? Then you get mad when folks get on the internet and get to talking right. Get on the internet and get to talking about moving out the hood and leaving y'all to live with your own bad decisions. Not everybody wants to live amongst criminality. Not everybody wants to live amongst hoodlums. Not everybody wants to live in the ghetto. And y'all get mad and indignant when someone like myself says, I'm going over here to move over to Caucasian Acres, where they got a Walgreens. I can go in 24/7, y'all. It's open 24 hours a day. Not only that, but you can go in there at 2 o'clock in the morning to get your medicine. Ain't nothing locked up. It don't feel like a prison where all the products are behind a locked plexiglass or in a cage. No, I can just walk in there any time of day or night, grab what I need, go swipe my American Express and get my tail up out of there and go about my business like it should be. But when we create situations for ourselves, it don't matter if your people ain't the ones out there robbing and stealing. If you vote for mayors like this who allow people to go out there and rob and steal, you are still part of the problem. See, it's many levels to this. You ain't got to be the one out there shooting. You might just be the one voting for Mayor Brandon Johnson who allows people to go out there and shoot. I need you to find your place in the game because not everybody is trying to be part of this scheme. Not everybody is happy and content with being poor and broke. You better pick up your Bible. I read somewhere in the book of John, it says, I would that you prosper and be in good health. Well, I'm with that. Sound good to me. But ain't nobody prospering right here in the hood. Ain't nobody prospering in the south side of Chicago. So if I want to prosper, I guess I got to get up out of here until they find a way to make change here. And they're going to call me what they call me. And I'm going to have to deal with it on this internet. But it is what it is. I hope Chicago finds it within themselves. I hope they find the strength in unity, the strength in numbers to come together and vote this man out. Not only vote him out, but vote in better. Get off that plantation and find your way out of this morass that you find yourselves in. And if you can't find your way out, just gas up your car, put all your kids in it, get your most valuable belongings, put it in the back, and drive away till you run out of gas, till you find a better place so you can start over where there are better opportunities for you and yours. I need you to be a little selfish in that moment. Take it upon yourself to be responsible for yourself and your family and make the change required to live a better life. Yeah, you're going to get hated for it. You're going to get talked about for it, but they talked about Jesus. Don't feel bad. Y'all, let me know what you think about this in the comments. I love to know your thoughts. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video so we can get more people involved in the conversation, y'all. And like I always say, always remember and never forget, without the gospel, it's just chops. Until next time, peace.